Mahito.
So, you made it.
I'm not the kind of person who leaves the theater wanting to go right back in and rewatch a film. I don't typically get anything out of art films either. Movies like Synecdoche, New York, or Beau is Afraid just kind of frustrate me, but The Boy and the Heron is an art film that I feel breaks this trend. If I wasn't in the middle of nowhere, Mississippi with 3 other people, and assuming another showing of the movie had been immediately after the screening I went to, I would have certainly re-watched this movie. Just to make sure that you understand, though, this movie is 2 hours long. If you're unfamiliar, you're listening to this and you're saying to yourself, well, what the hell is The Boy and the Heron? It's the new film by Hayao Miyazaki, the famous director behind Studio Ghibli and almost all of their collective works. He's known as the creative mastermind behind Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle, as well as a multitude of other works. Also, you've definitely seen a Totoro before. My Neighbor Totoro is so easily identifiable that his profile has been Ghibli's logo for quite a few years. But The Boy and the Heron is like none of these movies. I would almost say that it's not even a kid's movie. A kid could certainly watch it, but they aren't going to get as much out of it as an adult. Analogy and comparison are one of the easiest ways for humans to communicate with one another, so I'll say this. The Boy and the Heron is Silent Hill 2 through a Ghibli lens. The young protagonist, Mahito, loses his mother in the World War II fire raids when her hospital is burned down. He moves out to the countryside with his father, who remarries his late wife's sister.
Nice.
Kinda strange, but whatever, it was the 1940s. I mean, Japan ain't gotta explain shit. For all I know, they're cousins. So here Mahito is, his father works at a nearby factory, and he's stuck in the middle of nowhere with 7 old maids and a mansion and a new woman to call a mother. He's plagued by nightmares of his mother burning to death, and he acts out in ways that display his grief, even going as far as to fight the other kids at school. Not satisfied with a little scrap, he takes a nearby rock and he slams it to the side of his head, causing a massive gash. The reason for this is never given explicitly, but it's easy to feel that he does this to get his father's attention. Days go by, and the call to action happens when a local gray heron begins speaking to Mahito. The gray heron tells Mahito that his mother is still alive in the world beneath the nearby old tower that was built ages ago by his great-grand-uncle. Filled with determination, Mahito spends the next few days planning, building a bow and arrow for himself, and sharpening a pocket knife. Not soon after, his new stepmother is confirmed to be pregnant and overcome with morning sickness. He sees his stepmother travel into the woods, she comes up missing, and then Mahito goes to save his stepmother and his presumed-to-be living mother from the world beneath the tower where the gray heron says they've been taken. Once Mahito enters the tower, the movie becomes dreamlike and the rules of the world are constantly in flux. The tower was built on an ancient meteorite. It's all very Lovecraft. This is what I meant by it being a lot like Silent Hill. Though the glitz and glamour of the film are overwhelmingly happy and upbeat, the story is dark and a dreamlike exploration of struggling with grief. The art is all 2D hand-drawn cell animation outside of the few 3D effects to warp backgrounds. As is typical with Ghibli, the art here is some of the best animation you'll ever see in your life. The fluidity of things like fire, water, blood, or even jam on toast is unbelievable. It's hard to say if there's anything I don't like about the animation. I did notice near the end of the film a few frames where the characters are too far away and then their faces were just kind of like dots, like in those little funny Madoka Magica memes. But that's my only complaint. It's astoundingly gorgeous. The music is, well, it's Ghibli music. If you're unfamiliar, I guess try to imagine Breath of the Wild soundtrack, but with like a full orchestra and a little bit more upbeat. You can really tell that the sounds were crafted for the scene. Soundscapes are grand and bombastic when they need to be, while being distant and calming when appropriate. Voices, sound effects, and the score were all properly mixed. I feel like a good deal of care was taken to make sure that the sound of the movie was just right. I watched the English dub because I recognized some of the names being put into the trailer. Robert Pattinson voices the Grey Heron, and he gives a wonderfully bewildering performance. I'm still astounded. I mean, it sounds nothing like him. During one scene, Mahito confronts a dying pelican voiced by Willem Dafoe, where the raspiness of Dafoe's voice really lends itself to voicing a dying bird for some reason. I can't think of another actor I would have rather tried to pull off that performance, but I do wish that Pattinson and Dafoe had swapped roles. Christian Bale voices Mahito's father, but he doesn't really have any scenes to really show off his acting talent, so there isn't really anything to say. Then finally, Mark Hamill voices the grand uncle. And no, he doesn't do the Joker voice.
Maybe Catwoman'll call your dog ass if you weren't such a creep with that 50 Shades of Green crap.
He's a great fit for an older, soft-spoken character like this, and to be honest, I feel bad that I don't have a single bad thing to say about the English vocal performances. In addition, unfortunately, I don't actually recognize any of the English female cast, so I won't comment on them, though their performances were good. As we left the theater, Boy and the Heron got a lot of confused comments from my co-watchers. Everyone except me seemed to have left the theater confused or feeling like they didn't completely understand what the movie was trying to convey. If they did understand it, they were more annoyed by the pacing. The film is 2 hours long, but the first 30 minutes of the movie will easily garner a lot of complaints that, quote, nothing happens. But Boy and the Heron isn't a movie full of action. It wouldn't be the same if it is. The film is more about tone and mood. If there's one thing that I can criticize the film for, it's that plot threads or subjects get introduced that don't matter to the plot and get completely dropped. When Mahito first enters the other world, he finds a graveyard that is said to be magical and gets a whole scene to itself, but it's never brought up again. A race of black blob people are introduced that never get fleshed out, and Mahito receives a magical feather from the heron that makes his arrow into a homing arrow, but that is also never really explained. But these questions were fleeting, and what stuck with me the entire time was the mood. More than once in the film, I felt something. I understood the feeling of loss that it was trying to convey and how an exploration of grief should be chaotic and constantly in flux. If you've experienced loss, I feel like this movie may touch you in the same way. It's certainly no whimsical The Cat Returns style film, but it has a little bit of everything from Miyazaki's previous films. I'm giving The Boy and the Heron a 9 out of 10. Great. Expect more of an emotional journey than a feel-good children's film, and I think you'll have your best experience.
Special thanks to our producers. I'm just going to put all your names here since I'm shutting down the Patreon for a little bit. My video schedule is just kind of wacky right now, and I don't see the point in making you guys pay for nothing every month.
Thanks again, and Merry Christmas. I'll see you guys next year.